let me get to the point right away. Harari's Fallacies is a set of assumptions, of arguments, and conclusions that he makes in his book Sapiens that are incorrect, defective. I'll show you why. Please follow me. Thank you. Here are some of his faulty assertions.
On top of this objective reality, a second layer of fictional reality, a reality made of fictional entities, like nations, like gods, like money, like corporations.
I'm going to show you that these so-called fictions are not fictions at all, because they have effects on the real world. And the real world can only have effects that also happen in the real world. So they are not fictions.
Many of you perhaps work for a corporation like Google or Toyota or McDonald's. What exactly are these things? They are what lawyers call legal fictions. They are stories invented and maintained by the powerful wizards we call lawyers.
Lawyers like me, we can call corporations legal fictions because that's the language we use for freshman students. But later on, we know that these so-called fictions will become as real as any person. They will have rights, they will have obligations, they can buy, sell stuff, they can make checks, they can make payments, just as any legal person can do. So what's the difference? If a legal person can change the world, a moral person can change the world, a corporation can change the world, what is the difference? Where is the fiction?
Most important factors in modern politics are states and nations. But what are states and nations? They are not an objective reality. A mountain is an objective reality. You can see it, you can touch it, you can even smell it.
No, Mr. Harari's faulty reasoning has an explanation that I'm going to tell you in a little short while. So, if the nation state is a fiction, is a jail a fiction? Are you in jail and you're just imagining a jail? No, sir. The nation state, if you are a criminal, will pursue you, they'll hunt you down, put you in jail, and the jail is going to be very, very real. No fiction at all. The nation state is not a living organization as a human being, but in cybernetics we say that a corporation can be mapped exactly the same as a living system because of the information and communication connections between its parts. If Sergeant X doesn't throw you in jail, maybe Sergeant Y will get that commission. The state will act and it will change your reality. Therefore, the state is an entity that has a different type of existence, but it is very real. It is not a fiction.
But what are human rights? Human rights, just like God and heaven, are just a story that we've invented. They are not an objective reality. They are not some biological fact about Homo sapiens. Take a human being, cut him open, look inside, you will find the heart, the kidneys, neurons, hormones, DNA, but you won't find any right.
Human rights? Human rights, as any rights, are information. And information is one of the three things that conform the universe. You have matter, you have energy, and you have information. Information is what decides the mix between matter and energy and how they are turned into one another. So information is a very key part of our universe. And we cannot say that something is information and then say that it's just a story, a fiction, because all those stories are fictions. Information is not necessarily a story or a fiction. Information is very real. We are living in a world of information. And we cannot say that the zeros and one in a CD or in a chip are fictions. No, they are codes, they are messages. And in that sense, they're very real. Maybe your rights are hard to find because they are in your brain's synapses. But try to jump in the front of the line in a stadium and you'll see how the rights of others immediately speak out and send you to the back of the queue. Rights exist. It's just that you don't see them as objects, but information is real and it changes our world. And without information, the world would not exist. So information is not a story. Stories are information, but not all information is a story. So Mr. Harari has a very important concept missing in his vocabulary, and it is the reality of information.
Yet what is money? Again, money is not an objective reality. It has no objective value. Take this green piece of paper, the dollar bill, look at it. It has no value. You cannot eat it, you cannot drink it, you cannot wear it. But then come along these master storytellers, the big bankers, the finance ministers, the prime ministers, and they tell us a very convincing story. Look, you see this green piece of paper? It is actually worth 10 bananas.
Mr. Harari says that money is a story, that it is not real. Come on. Again, money is perhaps another type of information, a special kind of information, but money is very real. You can exchange it for bananas. So why would you get the bananas if the money is not capable of doing anything? It's information, not a story. Its power comes from the fact that it is shared information. But not just because you share a story means that everything you share is a story. Stories are parts of things you share, but they're very different from things meant to be handled seriously, for real. Money is for real. For instance, blind people read with their fingers. Is that information real or is it made up? It's real. Information is transferred from one medium to the other. You can go from CD to book to iPad to iPhone or to the synapses in your head. And it changes the structure of your neural nets. And those changes change you also. And they make you do different things depending on what the content of the net is. So information is real.
Money, in fact, is the most successful story ever invented and told by.
The Harari fallacy is to negate the essence of information. Information is as real as a table or a chair. It cannot be ignored. It's there, and it changes things. Now, models are real too. We have models of many different things in our head, and it doesn't mean that they're not real. Models change the way we think. God is a model of perfection that we have to inspire us to preserve certain order on earth. God may exist or not exist. That's not the point. But you cannot deny that the simple idea of God is enough to change the behavior of many people. Many people consider God to be a model of human perfection, who knows all, sees all, can do anything he wants. So God is at least a model. And once you get the model in your head and it changes your behavior, God, the idea, becomes information and it becomes very real. That is Harari's fallacy. The world is not made of matter and energy. If you ignore the presence of information, then you could not make any sort of distinctions in the world. The world will not exist. The world does not exist without information. So anybody that comes and tells you that God is a story, that money is a story, that corporations are stories, is misusing or ignoring the idea of what information is all about.